Dean. This is some feedback on your technology manuscript that you prepared for EDL 556. This is going to be just an opportunity for me to talk to you a little bit through some of the parts of your paper and give you some ideas on how you can strengthen it and revise it moving forward. So just a couple of minor things when we sort of look at this title page. First of all, your title is a bit long and not quite as provocative as I'd maybe, like you to be. So this might have just been you sort of getting the main idea of what you wanted to down on paper, but go back through and come up with something that's just a little bit more creative and that might draw someone's attention when we're looking at it. Something you can play with this idea of multiple personas, split personas, play around with some different ideas and some creative ideas and see what you come up with. I like a lot of the information that you've included in here. I think you've done a really good job of going to some external resources and linking it back to the topic that you're talking about. All of them very relevant, relatively recent, 2011, 2012, 2013. I think that's great. I think what the people would benefit from is maybe a bit more of a reorganization. So you might start with an introduction that sort of gives an overview of the topic you're going to talk about. So I know you sort of highlight the main idea here, but is there a provocative quote that you could pull in from something that you read or from something that you've worked with that might help sort of bring together why would we want to look at having multiple personas in the workplace? Then I think you can move into a section, and I would separate it by some type of a heading or subheading where you talk about sort of, the state of affairs now in terms of social media. So this is where you would go into basically a literature review like you've done here about, where do we stand with social media? So the fact that police departments are asking for more security, that you have all this sort of background information about both positive and negative implications. Go ahead and expand that part a little bit and make it an actual lit review. Then I'd have a section heading probably about here where you talk specifically about your own experiences. So you talk, vaguely right now about, how it allows you to have both personal and private, how some students may or may not, enjoy their meetings with you, and so it's wise for you to keep information private or just not share some information. I'd give us some more anecdotes. Do you have an example of some personal information that you wouldn't want to be shared on your administrator profile, and do you have a reason why there's some information you do and don't put on your administrator profile that you wouldn't share in your personal file, and why is that? And you might also talk about the time commitment and the energy and the sort of focus it takes to manage the two different profiles. So I would expand this section pretty significantly and talk more about, maybe your own, an anecdote or two sort of related to your own personal experience, but then I might talk about how you balance, your time management and the content on those two separate pages and why that's important to you. I think you've got a strong set of articles. I like the fact that it's hyperlinked in the reference page. And obviously, the other thing I would do once you expand that personal reflection piece is to give us a conclusion that really sort of talks about implications and applications for higher ed and student affairs professionals. So you talk sort of generally about your experience in admissions. How does it apply to someone who's in that role or a similar role in a college campus, whether it's in admissions or in some other department, that why this would be beneficial to them? Even if you don't have any citations that you can make to other resources, and I would actually push you to maybe go back to those resources and say, look, we know that 72% of teenagers have social media profiles. We need to have a presence there as administrators if we want to reach that group of individuals. But here are the sort of limitations and the implications that I've seen from my experience. So I think you've got a really good base here. I do some reorganization and some rework so that you have a true introduction to your piece that then moves into a true lit review, and you use a heading and highlight that, and then move into an extended sort of anecdote reflection discussion piece where you give us some more examples and possibly, if you're willing to, even link to some pictures or some components from your own profile. And then finally, in that last section, give us some really sort of solid implications that we can take away from your piece that we could all follow as hired administrators and professionals. So good start here. Keep going. Just give us a little bit more and organize it a little bit better for yourself and for someone reading it as well.